Most people believe their salary is the villain that keeps them broke. But if money alone were the answer, every person with a high income would be wealthy, every person with a raise would suddenly be free, and every person with 2 jobs would be living in abundance. Yet we all know people who earn more than enough. Money behaves exactly like you do. If you treat it casually, it leaves casually. If you manage it with discipline, it begins to behave with discipline. If you guide it with purpose, it begins to follow purpose. And still end the month wondering where it all disappeared. That tells you something important. The real reason you remain broke in 2026 has less to do with the number on your paycheck and more to do with the philosophy you bring to that paycheck. Because your income is not the main reason you stay broke, because the real engine behind your financial life is the set of patterns, priorities, and philosophies that guide every decision you make long before money. Most people think money problems start when they open their wallet, but they actually start in the mind, in the daily thinking that shapes how you treat opportunity, how you react to pressure, how you manage time, and how you interpret responsibility. 2 people can earn the same amount, yet one builds a foundation of stability, while the other sinks deeper into frustration, which proves that the difference is not the salary, but the internal system running the person. It's the quiet habits, the unexamined assumptions, the emotional triggers around spending, the avoidance of planning, and the comfort-based decision-making that slowly drain the possibilities out of your financial life. You don't see the cost of these patterns immediately because they operate silently, repeating themselves automatically until they become your normal. When your philosophy is built on reaction instead of intention, you spend money the same way you spend energy. Without strategy, without clarity, and without vision for what today's choices will create tomorrow. Every result you have with money is downstream from the way you think about money. If you believe that the only solution is earning more, you continue to ignore the patterns that sabotage what you already have. If you believe discipline is something you'll figure out later, keep showing up without improvement. If you believe small habits don't matter, you underestimate the compounding effect that tiny decisions create over years. Your financial life doesn't fail in one big moment. It fails in the repetition of 1,000 small choices. The philosophy you carry decides whether those choices build you or break you. A person who treats every paycheck with intention automatically behaves differently from someone who sees money as something to use until it runs out. A person who prioritizes growth thinks about investments, skills, and opportunities, while someone who prioritizes comfort thinks about entertainment, distractions, and convenience. These priorities dictate your future long before any job or salary does. When your internal philosophy shifts from survival to stewardship, everything changes. You begin to understand that money is a tool, not an escape. You recognize that patterns exist, so you can break them, not repeat them. You start seeing that the real problem is not lack of income, but lack of direction. Money needs leadership, and without it, it flows toward whatever temptation stands closest. If you don't set rules for your money, the world will set them for you. And those rules usually leave you broke. But when you upgrade your thinking, even a small income can begin to create momentum, because your philosophy guides your behavior and your behavior shapes your results. That's why 2 people with the same salary can live in completely different worlds. It's not the number on the paycheck that separates them. It's the mindset that governs how they use it. Broke is rarely a bank balance problem at the beginning. It is almost always a habit problem that slowly becomes a financial reality. Long before money runs out, discipline has already run out. Long before the wallet is empty, consistency has already been abandoned. People think they are losing because they don't earn enough, but most of the time they lose because their daily choices silently drain the future they are trying to build. The habits you practice every day decide whether you repeat the same year again or rise into a new one. And these habits don't shout, they whisper. They show up as small impulses, quick comforts, emotional spending, procrastination disguised as self-care, and the subtle belief that one small indulgence won't matter. But every habit compounds whether it is helping you or hurting you. A small undisciplined decision repeated over months becomes a financial block. A small disciplined decision repeated over months becomes a financial breakthrough. Habits shape direction long before they shape numbers. Your habits also tell the truth about what you value, even when your intentions sound different. If you say financial freedom matters, but your habits show inconsistency, avoidance, or emotional spending, then your habits win. If you say you want to invest, but your habits show hesitation and distraction, then your habits win. People don't stay broke because they are incapable. They stay broke because their habits are built for short-term relief instead of long-term reward. Habits decide your identity, and identity decides your destiny. A person who sees themselves as someone who just can't save will behave exactly like that identity for years. A person who believes they deserve a break every time they feel discomfort will trade opportunity for comfort again and again. And a person who waits for motivation before taking action will always fall behind someone who takes action to create motivation. Broke becomes a cycle. The moment you start avoiding discomfort, growth requires doing what is inconvenient. Wealth requires making decisions that don't feel exciting today, but matter deeply tomorrow. Habits like learning new skills, tracking money, delaying gratification, reading instead of scrolling, preparing instead of reacting, all feel small in the moment, but powerful over time. They create a shift from being controlled by circumstances to becoming the kind of person who influences their circumstances. When you repeat these habits long enough, you start to rise above the environment that once held you down. But if you repeat the habits of distraction, impulse, and inconsistency, the environment always wins. Your daily choices are the architects of your financial future. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. If you keep choosing the easy route, you harden a pattern that keeps you broke. If you choose the disciplined route, you build a foundation that protects you no matter what your income is. Money responds to habits the way a seed responds to soil. Good soil multiplies the seed. Poor soil destroys it. And until your habits change, no amount of income can outgrow a mindset that keeps repeating the same pattern. Wealth begins not when more money enters your life, but when you upgrade the standards you live by, the identity you operate from, and the discipline you bring to your daily choices. Most people believe they need a bigger income to change their situation, but a bigger income without a stronger identity only magnifies the same problems. The moment you decide to raise your standards, your life begins to rise to meet them. When you decide you will no longer tolerate financial chaos, impulsive spending, or passive living, you instantly step into a new level of personal leadership. That shift matters more than any raise, promotion, or windfall, because money flows to those who are prepared to manage it, multiply it, and respect it. Opportunity recognizes discipline the same way success recognizes commitment. When your standards rise, your behavior follows, and your results eventually have no choice but to change. Becoming the kind of person who attracts and keeps wealth means learning to ask better questions. Instead of asking why things are difficult, you start asking how you can grow stronger. Instead of asking when luck will arrive, you start asking what value you can create. Instead of wondering why others seem to get ahead, you study what actions they take daily that you have been avoiding. Better questions pull you into better decisions, and better decisions pull you into a better future. Every financially successful person you admire became that way not because money showed up first, but because identity changed first. They became responsible when they felt like procrastinating. They became disciplined when distraction was easier. They became intentional when excuses felt comfortable. Their transformation happened quietly, internally, long before anyone else noticed externally. On set, you shift who you believe you are. Your habits align with that belief. If you see yourself as someone who practices discipline, you begin to act with discipline automatically. If you see yourself as someone capable of creating wealth, you make choices that build wealth instead of choices that destroy it. Identity forms the blueprint, and behavior builds the structure. You begin setting boundaries with yourself, how much you spend, what you invest in, what you learn, who you listen to, and how you manage time. These boundaries aren't restrictions. They are protections. They shield your future from your past patterns. They keep you moving toward goals, even when motivation fades. When your standards rise high enough, excuses stop fitting into your life. You start treating every day as a chance to advance, not repeat. You start valuing long-term gain over short-term comfort. You start using money intentionally instead of emotionally. And slowly, the gap between who you were and who you are grows wider. Wealth becomes less about the amount you earn and more about the person you are becoming. Money becomes a reflection of discipline, of choices, of character, of vision. And when that transformation takes place, your salary is no longer the limitation of your life. It becomes the platform you use to build the life you were meant to create.